Hey, it's Nat with Going Pacific, and today I'm going to be showcasing some unique experiences you can have right here in Sydney, Australia that won't be crawling with tourists.
Sydney is perhaps the most iconic city we have here in Australia, with the Harbour Bridge and the Opera House. But where should you go if you want to avoid the hustle and bustle of all the crowds? Today, I'm going to take you off the beaten track to 4 places that are uniquely Sydney, so you can make the most of your time here and experience something that you can't get anywhere else in the world.
All right, let's go. For my first stop today, I've come to not only a uniquely Sydney location, but also a uniquely Australian one. I'm here at the Anzac Memorial in Hyde Park, Sydney, to showcase this uniquely Australian cultural icon. A big thank you to the Anzac Memorial team for allowing me to film and show you this amazing, uniquely Australian place.
The Anzac Memorial in Hyde Park was designed as a sculptural monument to the soldiers, sailors and airmen of Australia who fought in the First World War, and officially opened on the 24th of November 1934. It now stands as a monument to the sacrifices of all Australian servicemen and women throughout our history. If you haven't heard of the term before, ANZAC is an acronym for the Australian and New Zealand Army Corps and was first used in late 1914 by an anonymous British Army clerk in reference to the first contingent of Australian and New Zealand soldiers of the Mediterranean Expeditionary Force. Shortly after this naming, the Anzac soldiers participated in the ill-fated Gallipoli campaign, the first true exposure of our young nation to the horrors of war. But the term stuck, and the diggers affectionately continued to refer to themselves as Anzacs. As a nation, we've continued to use the term ever since. The Anzac Memorial in Hyde Park was a unique collaboration between architect Charles Bruce Tillet and sculptor George Rayner Hoff. It's considered one of the finest surviving examples of Art Deco style in Australia. Externally, the building is symmetrical on both axes and is adorned with 20 sculptures representing the units of the Australian Imperial Force, which was the fighting force that Australia sent in World War I. The main building houses the Hall of Memory and the Hall of Silence. The Hall of Memory is the principal commemorative space at the memorial, and the circular room contains small niches listing the principal theatres in which Australians served in World War I, grand cathedral-style windows, a dome ceiling that's covered with 120,000 stars, which represents the men and women from New South Wales who embarked for overseas service during the Great War, as well as a space containing a flame of remembrance, which burns to symbolise the gratitude of the Australian people to those who made the ultimate sacrifice for our country. Below the Hall of Memories lies the Hall of Silence, a stark, circular room, the centrepiece of which is the sculpture called Sacrifice. The words, "Let silent contemplation be your offering," adorn the threshold, asking all to pause and create a sense of peace and sacred quiet within this space of remembrance. Throughout the years, there's been multiple expansions to the original building, including an exhibition gallery and the addition of the Hall of Service. The exhibition gallery features a fantastic collection of historical items and displays to inform the public about the wars that Australia has been involved in and the stories of those who served in them, from the earliest conflicts right up into modern day. The Hall of Service architecturally and artistically mirrors the Hall of Silence and features powerful artwork by Fiona Hall. The pieces are the home soil, which is comprised of 8 walls of soil from the 1,701 New South Wales towns, cities, suburbs and homesteads that were given as home addresses by First World War enlistees, and the international soil, which contains earth from 100 significant battlefields and military sites for the service personnel from the state.
During my time at the Anzac Memorial here in Hyde Park, I've also had the honour of attending one of their live performances called Devoted Service, retelling some of the stories from the diaries of nurses during the Great War, which is particularly poignant for me as I have also served in the Australian Army as a nursing officer. So it's great to hear these stories being told.
Admission to the memorial is free, and today I've only just scratched the surface of the history and the impact that this place can have. I think if you're looking for something educational, moving, and uniquely Australian to do in Sydney that highlights an important aspect of our cultural heritage, then the Anzac Memorial in Hyde Park can't be missed.
Once again, a massive thank you to the Anzac Memorial Hyde Park team for allowing me to film today and show you some of this amazing place. If you're in Sydney, it's an incredibly unique experience. and you should spend some time coming down here to remember and experience some amazing Australian history. Now for my second stop today, I'm back at the Sydney Opera House, but I'm not here to see a show. What you might not know about the Sydney Opera House is there's actually several restaurants around it that you can come in and try that are not overloaded with tourists. So today we're going to take you to a very special one to check it out. So I'm coming for lunch today at a place called Midden by Mark Olive. Apparently it's a really good Indigenous-based themed restaurant. So let's jump on in and try it out, team.
Midden by Mark Olive is located on the western boardwalk of Sydney Opera House and aims to create a culinary experience that draws on Mark's Indigenous Australian heritage. Named after a communal space where First Nations people cooked, ate and gathered as families, the restaurant champions a produce-focused menu of native Australian ingredients, from wattle seed and bush honey to saltbush and succulents.
This is a pretty darn unique dining experience. I'm at Sydney Opera House, looking out Sydney Harbour Bridge, dining with some Indigenous cuisine. So that's just amazing. Today for lunch, I've ordered myself some damper, which is quintessential Australian. For my main, I'm having a kangaroo steak. And for dessert, I'm following it up with Mark Olive's bush pavlova. So I am super excited to share all that with you guys. Let's try this damper. I still go just without any butter, and then I'll try out this little butter just to throw it out as well. Warm, down south, how damper is. Pretty tasty, alright. Let's add some butter. Butter's on. Let's go again. Everything salted. That's really nice. Alright, I'm gonna enjoy this, guys. Alright, now my kangaroo fillet is out. So let's try it together, guys. Yes. Some really unique flavors going on here. The kangaroo, it's very distinct flavors. There's light and creamy potatoes with it. There's local greens and a great gravy. I think this place is definitely worth checking out. It's very unique. It's very Australian. And I haven't even had my dessert yet, so I'll share that with you as well. That is amazing. That is an amazing pavlova. Fruits and the flavors are great. Ooh, that's really, really good. All right, that was really good. That was an amazing meal. The staff asked if I wanted a tea or coffee. With dessert, I said I'll have a cappuccino because I haven't actually had a coffee today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to enjoy that, and I'll see you guys at the next location.
My meal cost me 102 Australian dollars, which is about 64 USD. And although I do think this was a little on the expensive side,
Lunch was great. You guys should definitely check out Midden if you're in Sydney. There was a little bit of rain over lunch, but we're not going to let that dampen our spirits. I've come now to our next location. We are at the Royal Botanical Gardens in Sydney. And if you want to avoid the crowds, this is definitely one of the places to do it because this place is absolutely massive. Now, I'm definitely not going to be able to show you all of it. I'll only be able to show you just a small part of it today. But let's go exploring. Now, Australia is actually a really young country in terms of global history, but these gardens are actually some of the oldest in all of Australia that have been formed into a botanical garden. So it's a good amount of history held here, and it is worth coming and checking out.
the Royal Botanical Gardens in Sydney is a heritage-listed botanical gardens spanning over 30 hectares that first opened in 1816. It's not only the oldest scientific institution in Australia, but considered one of the most important historical botanical institutions anywhere in the world.
The place is just littered with these old buildings that they've used to help grow a wide variety of plants from a wide variety of regions, from tropical to subtropical. There's a lot of amazing stuff around here. This is the spring walk. I'm currently here in spring and everything is in full bloom. So let me show you some amazingly beautiful flowers and plants. There's also some amazing views from the Sydney Botanical Gardens. You don't get much more Sydney than this. The Australian Sydney Opera House and the Sydney Harbour Bridge together in one view with a gum tree. Warms your heart, doesn't it?
There's a couple of dining options scattered around the gardens, but I didn't have a chance to go and eat there today.
And if you're really lucky, you might even run into some Aussie locals. Team, there's absolutely no way that I could show you all of this place. It would take me days and days to show you every single part. So I hope you enjoyed some of the few parts that I've been able to show you. And now we're going to head on to our next location.
The Royal Botanical Gardens is open every day of the year, and entry is entirely free. My next location is just a short walk away from the gardens, although it can be a little tricky to find the entrance when you've arrived.
And for the last stop today, team, we're going to be heading up the Sydney Tower Eye. We're going to give you some amazing views over the city and show you this really unique experience you can have.
The Sydney Tower is the tallest structure in the city and the second tallest observation tower in the Southern Hemisphere. Public access to the tower began in September 1981, and there's a few sections to it. Today I opted to just go to the observation deck, but you can also go to an open-air skywalk, a 4D cinema experience, and there's also a revolving restaurant you can eat at. As I said, it can be a little tricky to find the entrance, but the easiest way I've learnt is to head into the Westfield Sydney, take the escalators up until you're on level 5, and then head down the hallway in the opposite direction from the food court. After checking in, there's a security screening point, and then you're into an elevator to take you up. The ride isn't too long. Then you come out and you can experience Sydney from above.
And here we are at the top of the Sydney Tower Eye. You can see the Harbour Bridge and the Opera House in the background here. You've got 360-degree views of the city. So let's go have a look around. It's the Botanical Gardens down here that we were walking around a bit earlier. This place can give you one of the most unique views of the Anzac Memorial down at Hyde Park, Sydney. And you can definitely just look at all the skyscrapers they've built here. I've also got some signs at the top telling you how far away other world landmarks are, from Rio de Janeiro to Buenos Aires. I'm not sure if you can see it, but over there we've also got Auckland, New Zealand. I'm not doing the skywalk today, but if you're braver than I am, you definitely can.
Once you've finished and headed back down the elevator, there's a gift store on your way out if you'd like to buy any souvenirs. The ticket for the Sydney Tower Eye cost me 37 Australian today, which is about 23 USD. However, if you've got some more time in Sydney, you can purchase a ticket as part of a package to other attractions around the city. I'm not sponsored, but I like a good deal, so I'll put a link to it in the description for you.
Well, Tim, I've had an absolute blast showing you some of the unique sites of Sydney that you can come to. I hope you've had a great time too. If you have, perhaps give the video a like, subscribe to the channel. If you think I could have gone somewhere else, or you really liked where I went, leave me a comment, and I'll catch you in the next one.